Okay guys, this is the lesson video for lesson 37. So it's continuing where we left off yesterday when we started talking about the area model and specifically the partial products with the area model. So we are starting out on slide 2, and let's start with the directions for number 1. It says solve 14 times 12 using 4 partial products and 2 partial products. Remember to think in terms of units as you solve. Write an expression to find the area of each smaller rectangle in the area model. So we have it set up and they tell us the different partial products that we're going to do. So we're going to ignore the area model for just a second and focus on the equation. So partial products, you can kind of think of it as those smaller area models that we're doing. So the first partial product we have is going to be that 4 ones times the 2 ones, and they even write it out over here. So in that first box, that's what we're focusing on, 4 ones times 2 ones. Well, if I know that if I have 4 ones times 2 ones, that is 8 ones. And that's my first partial product. Now I'm just going to look down below here. For the next partial products, it's telling me that I'm still focusing on that bottom number in the ones place, so that 4 ones. And now I'm moving over to the 1 in the tens place. So again, it says 4 ones times 1, 10. Well, I know that that's 4 times 10, and I know that 4 times 10 is equal to 40. So those are the first 2 partial products that I have. So again, I started with this bottom number in the ones place, kind of like when we do the standard algorithm, and I multiplied it by each of these 2 numbers up top, but it's focusing more on the place value aspect of it. So let's keep on going. So I'm moving on to my next partial product. It's telling me that for this next box, I am doing 110. So again, kind of like the standard algorithm, I'm moving on to that bottom number in the tens place. So 110, and again, times 2 ones. So I'm going back to that place value on top. So 110 times 2 ones, well, I know that that's 10 times 2, and that is equal to 20. So now I can move on to my last place value. So again, it's telling me, my last partial product. So it's telling me that for my last partial product, I have to do, again, that 110 times the other 10. So 10 times 10, well, I know that 10 times 10 is equal to 100. So now I am done with the partial products. I found all of the partial products that I needed to, and this one does not include it, but there should be a little addition sign right over here. So now, just like what we did yesterday, I'm going to add all these numbers together. So again, if you guys need to rewrite the equation somewhere so you can line up the place values, that is totally fine. My writing is now very awkward because I'm using my mouse, so I'm sorry that it's not as clean as it usually is. So again, if you need to line up those place values, make sure that you do so. If you can add it up the way it's written out right here, that's completely fine. Just make sure that whatever you do, you get the correct answer of 168. So now I'm going to show you guys what that would look like if we were to do the area model. So if we were to do the area model, we would first focus on this rectangle right up here, and we would know that we would have to do 4 times 10. So we know that that is equal to 40. If we were to keep going with the area model and move on to this next tiny rectangle right over here, well, we would know that we would have to do 2 times 4, and we would know that 2 times 4 is equal to 8. And if we keep on going with the area model, we would move on to this next bigger rectangle right down here. And we would know that in order to find the area of that rectangle, we would have to do 10 times 10. And we know that 10 times 10 is equal to 100. And then again, if we were doing the area model, we would move on to that last little rectangle right there. And we would know that in order to find that area, we would have to do 10 times 2. And we would know that 10 times 2 is equal to 20. So if you notice, each of those little areas that we got corresponds with one of those partial products that we found. So partial products, in my opinion, is a little bit easier than the area model just because it doesn't involve drawing pictures. And in my opinion, anytime you don't have to draw pictures, that usually works out really well. Let's look at the next example over to the right here. So for this one, they set up the equation for us. We have 12 times 14, and they are, we're now focusing on doing two partial products. So last time we did the ones place in the bottom times the ones place in the top times the tens place in the top. Then we did the tens place on the bottom times the one place on the top times the tens place on the top. Now we're just going to separate out the bottom places. So we're going to start with the 4 ones times 12 ones. So we're still going to focus on the bottom ones place first, ignore the bottom tens place for a second, but this time we're going to multiply it by 12. We're just going to keep those top two place values together. So for this partial product, we're going to be doing 4 ones times 12 ones. So 4 times 12, well, I know that that is equal to 48. And now I'm going to move on to my second partial product. So since I already took that bottom number in the ones place times both numbers on top, I'm done with that bottom number in the ones place. So now you can see right here, we're moving on to our next partial product, which is the 1 in the tens place times the two numbers on top. So 110 times 12 ones. Well, I know that 110 is 10, so that's actually 10 times 12. And 10 times 12 is equal to 120. So again, just like when we did the other partial products, we first focused on that bottom number in the ones place. We made sure to multiply it by both numbers up top. We just did it at one time instead of separating the numbers up top. After we did that, we ignored that bottom number in the ones place and we focused on that bottom number in the tens place. And again, we still multiplied it by both of those numbers on the top. Again, instead of just separating it out, we kept it together as one number up top. And now again, I don't know why it doesn't have a plus sign, but there should be a plus sign there because now we just add our two partial products together. So again, the place values are not lined up. If you need to line up the place values, make sure that you do. If you can do that addition in your head, that's awesome. So we're just going to keep on going with number 2. It is telling us to solve 32 times 43 using 4 partial products and 2 partial products. Match each partial product to its area on the models. Remember to think in terms of units as you solve. So let's look at the equation on the left. So we have 43 times 32. This is the one that we are breaking into 4 partial products. So we are breaking the ones down for each number and the tens down for each number. So this first line, again, they're helping us out. It is the same process that you use every time though, so you won't always have this guide right here. So make sure that you start paying attention to the order that we do things. So first it's telling us 2 ones times 3 ones. So again, kind of like the standard algorithm, we take that bottom number in the ones place and we multiply it by the top number in the ones place. So we have 2 ones times 3 ones, or 2 times 3, which is equal to 6. Now I'm going to move on to my next partial product. So my next partial product is telling me that we're still focusing on the 2 ones, and now we're going to multiply it times the 4 ones. So now we have 2 ones, times 4 tens. So now we have 2 ones times 4 tens. Well, that's really 2 times 40, and 2 times 40 is equal to 80. So I found my second partial product. I'm now done with that first number in the ones place because there are no more numbers up top for me to multiply it with. So now I'm done with the bottom number in the ones place, and I am going to move on to the bottom number in the tens place. So the 3 tens times 3 ones. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, what about that 0 as a place value holder? I tell you guys to do that when we're doing the standard algorithm because we're not separating it apart by place value. With the partial products, it is all by place value. When we do the standard algorithm, we only care about that 0 as a place value holder when we just move on from the ones number. This one is all about place value, so every single one of these is focusing specifically on the place value. We don't have a place value holder because that's your main focus when doing the partial products. We'll explain a little bit more as we get more into partial products and more into doing the standard algorithm. But just know that when we're doing partial products, we don't have to worry about place value holders. Okay, so we're going to keep going. So we're on 3 tens times 3 ones. So 3 tens times 3 ones. Well, I know that 3 tens is 30, and 30 times 3 is equal to 90. So now I'm done with that top number in the ones place, and now this partial product is telling me that the last one I do is that bottom number in the tens place times the top number in the tens place. So 3 tens times 4 tens. Well, I know that 3 tens is 30, and I know that 4 tens is 40. So I know that 30 times 40 is equal to 1,200. So now I am all done finding the partial products. Before I add my answer all together, I'm just going to find it on the area model over here. So again, for the area model, I'm going to focus on each individual rectangle at a time. So for that one that I just highlighted, in order to find the area, I have to do that side times that side. 2 times 40, well, I know that that is equal to 80. So the other way to think about this is that for this one, we did 2 times 4 tens. Well, 2 times 4 tens is exactly what we did right here, where we got 80. Let's look at that next smaller box right here, smaller rectangle. In order to find that, we're going to do 3 times 2, or 3 ones times 2 ones, and that is equal to 6, which is the same thing that we did for that partial product right there. Oops, I did not mean to erase that 6. I'll put it back for you guys. Okay, we're going to move on to this next bigger rectangle right down here. So in order to find the area of that bigger rectangle, we have to do 30 times 40, or 3 tens times 4 tens. Well, 3 tens times 4 tens, I know, is equal to 1,200, or the same thing that we got for our last partial product right there. And we have one more area to find in this little rectangle right here. And in order to find that rectangle, we have to do 30 times 3, or 3 times 3 tens. And I know that that is equal to 90. Again, that is that last partial product. Well, sorry, last that I didn't draw a line to, but not the last one that we did. Now all that's left is I have to add all of those partial products together. So again, if you guys need to line up the place values, make sure that you do so. If you do not need to line up the place values, you can just add. That's awesome. Go for it. Now we're going to have to do almost the same thing, but now with the 2 partial products. So remember, when we do the 2 partial products, we're dividing that number on bottom, keeping that top number together. So this first one is telling us that the first partial product is going to be our 2 ones times 43 ones. So again, we're separating the number on the bottom, keeping the number on the top the same. So I have 2 ones times 43 ones. Well, I know that that's still 2 times 43, and I know that that is equal to 86. So I found my first partial product, and now I can move on to my next partial product. So my next partial product, I'm done with that 2 in the ones place because I already multiplied that 2 in the ones place times both of those numbers up top. So now I'm moving on to my 3 in the tens place. And again, I have to do 3 tens times 43 ones. So 3 times that 43. I'm keeping that number on top the same. So 43 ones times 3 tens is really 43 times 30. And I know that 43 times 30 is equal to 1,290. And now before I write my final answer, I'm going to go ahead and show it in the area model. So if we look at this small rectangle up top right here, I know that in order to find the area of that rectangle, I have to multiply one side times the other side. So 2 ones times 43 ones. Well, I already discovered that that is equal to 86. So that little rectangle is representing that partial product. And now that I found that little area, I can go ahead and move on to my next rectangle right down here and find the area of that rectangle. Well, I know that in order to find the area of this rectangle, I have to multiply one side times another side. Well, I don't have a side length labeled right there, but I know that it's the same as the side on top. So 30 times 43, or 3 tens times 43 ones. Either way, I get 1,290. And again, that bigger rectangle is just a visual representation of that partial product that we found. Now I can go ahead and add my two partial products together. Remember, if you guys need to visualize it and see the place values line up, make sure that you are rewriting the answer so that you can solve it correctly and get the correct answer of 1,376. Okay, we're going to keep on going and move on to slide 3. Slide 3, number 3 is telling us solve 57 times 15 using two partial products. Match each partial product to its rectangle on the area model. So I very roughly drew the area model for you, and I already drew the arrows that are going to connect each partial product to its spot on the area model. So just to mix things up here, let's go ahead and start by labeling our area model. Now, you guys know that this math program likes to separate numbers out into groups of tens and ones. So 57 is the number that we're going to be putting on the side here. You guys might have already figured out that it's going to be separated into 50 and 7. Again, I tried to make one box bigger, one box smaller. This one turned out better than some of my other pictures, but just kind of roll with it here. And we're not going to separate out 15 because we are doing the two partial products. So remember, whenever we do two partial products, we keep that number on top together. We do not separate it out. So now I'm going to continue with the area model and find the area of this rectangle on top. Well, I know that in order to find the area of that rectangle, I have to multiply one side length times the other side length. So that is going to be equal to 7 times 15. So I have to do 7 times 15 in order to find the area on top. And let's see, I think I wrote the answer key for the equation. So let's see which way I did this. There we go. So you can write the equation. I'm going to change the answer key before you guys work on this to also accept 105. So either way is correct. If you want to do 7 times 15 or 105 or write the equation, anyone is correct. But I did set up the answer key to just take the multiplication equation. Okay, so now we have to find the area of this bottom rectangle right down here. Well, I know that in order to find the area of this rectangle, I have to multiply one side length times the other side length. And I know that I have to do 50 times 15, and I bet that I set up this answer key the same. Yes. So if you write the equation, you will get it correct, but if you also tell me what it equals, you will get it correct as well. Again, I will change the answer key. So if you put the equation for how to find the area, that is awesome. If you just put the answer, that is awesome. Either way, it'll be correct. Okay, now let's move on to the partial products. So again, I told you guys on the other side, you're not always going to have those helpful hints off to the side telling you which partial product is which. Again, you kind of have to go off of what we have been doing. So that for this first one, we have been doing this bottom number in the ones place. We always start with that bottom number in the ones place times the top two numbers, because again, we're doing two partial products. When you do two partial products, you keep that top number together. I also drew this arrow right here, so that should have been another clue that you're going to do 7 times 15 first. So for that first partial product, we are doing 7 times 15, and I know that that is equal to 105. Now I have to do my second partial product. So again, they're not telling us what to do, but I know that when we get to the second line, that means that we are done with the ones place. We're moving on to the number in the tens place. And now I have to multiply that number in the tens place times 15, because again, we're doing 2 partial products, which means we are keeping that top number together. I also drew you guys an arrow to this rectangle, so that could have also been a clue to you that we are doing 5 tens times 15, or 50 times 15. And we already discussed when drawing the area model that that is equal to 750. Now again, you guys should know that if you need to line up those place values while you are adding them, please do so in order to make sure that you get the correct answer. If you don't need to line up those place values, that's totally fine. Okay, we're going to keep on going to number 4. Number 4 is telling us to solve the following using 2 partial products. Visualize the area model to help you. So if you get stuck when you're doing this, try and visualize the area model in your head. If you can't visualize it, you can always draw one out and help you out. If you don't need to visualize it, that's totally fine. So let's go with part A. So we are doing 25 times 46. Now, if you guys notice, I wrote this little equation over to the side here. So you have to tell me the answer of the partial product and what 2 numbers you multiplied together in order to get that partial product. So let's look at this first one right here. So it kind of goes together right there. So again, I told you guys you need to make sure that you are paying attention to the order of the steps that we do, because you're not always going to be told what to do. So we're going to start with the bottom number in the ones place, and since we're doing 2 partial products, that means that we need to multiply it by those 2 numbers together. So right there, I have my first answer. I am doing 6 ones times 25 ones. Because again, I know that I need to do that bottom number in the ones place times the top 2 numbers together. So 6 ones times 25 ones, 6 times 25 is equal to 150. Now I am moving on to my next partial product, and I know that I am done with that 6 in the ones place because I already multiplied it by both of those numbers up top, so that means that I'm moving on to the bottom number in the tens place, and I am multiplying that bottom number times the top 2 numbers. So I have 4 tens, which is 40, times 25 ones, which is 25. So now I am doing 40 times 25. And I know that 40 times 25 is equal to 1,000. So I have found both of my partial products. Again, this equation is missing it, but now I need to add my 2 partial products together. So I'm going to go ahead and write my answer. This will be my last time saying it. You guys know that you can always write your equation over to the side or on a piece of paper in order to line those place values together. Let's move on to part B. We're going to do the exact same thing here. So again, I'm starting with that first partial product, and I know that whenever I start out with a multiplication equation, I start with that bottom number in the ones place. Since I'm doing 2 partial products, that means that I keep that top number together. So I am doing 2 ones, which is 2, times 18 ones, which is 18. So my first partial product that I need to find is 2 times 18, and I know that that is equal to 36. So now that I have multiplied that bottom number in the ones place, I am ready to move on to the next one. So I'm ready to move on to that bottom number in the tens place. And I know that I'm going to multiply it with those top 2 numbers together. So that means that I'm taking the bottom number in the tens place, which is 6 tens. 6 tens is 60, and I'm multiplying it by the top number together, 18 ones, which is 18. So for the second partial product, I have 60 times 18. Well, I know that that is equal to 1080. If you guys did not know that 60 times 18 was equal to 1080, much like writing your addition equations over to the side, you could always write your multiplication equation over to the side and solve it in order to get your correct answer. So now we're just going to add our two partial products together, and we are going to get 1106. So moving right along for part C, we no longer have to put that equation of how we found our partial product. It's a good habit to get into. I'm going to go ahead and write it in with my pen tool. You guys do not have to do it, but again, it's a good habit to get into. So let's look at part C. We are doing 39 times 46. Okay, well, I know for my first partial product, I always start in the bottom number in the ones place, and since I'm doing two partial products, that means that I keep that top number together. So I'm doing that bottom number in the ones place, which is 6 ones, which is 6, times the top number, which is 39 ones, or 39. So that I know, so now I know that first partial product is going to be 6 times 39, which I know is equal to 234. And now I'm ready to move on to my second partial product. I know that I'm done with that bottom number in the ones place because I already multiplied it by all the numbers on top. So I'm moving on to that bottom number in the tens place, and I'm going to multiply it times that top number. Well, the bottom number in the ones place, the bottom number in the tens place is 4 tens. Well, I know that 4 tens is 40. So I'm going to take those 4 tens, 40, and multiply it by the top number. So the top number is 39 ones, or 39. So now to find that second partial product, I am going to do 40 times 39, which I know is equal to 1,560. And then finally, in order to complete my answer, I need to add those two partial products together. So I need to add 234 plus 1,560, and I get the correct answer of 1,794. And that is correct. I will fix that by the time you guys complete this assignment. Okay, we're going to keep on going. Part D, we have 78 times 23. So again, I'm starting with that first partial product. I know that I have to start with that bottom number in the ones place, and since I am finding two partial products, that means that I'm going to multiply it by that top number together. So the bottom number in the ones place, I have 3, so I have 3 ones. Well, 3 ones is the same thing as 3. And I am multiplying it by 78 ones, which is equal to 78. So for that first partial product, I have 3 times 78, and that is equal to 234. Now I can move on to my next partial product. I already multiplied that bottom number in the ones place times all the numbers on top, so I can move on from that ones place. Now I'm moving on to the bottom number in the tens place and multiplying it by that top number. So the bottom number in the tens place is 2 tens. Well, I know that 2 tens is equal to 20, and I'm going to multiply it by that top number. So 20 times 78. Well, I know that 20 times 78 is equal to 1,560. And look at that, we got the same answer as our other problem. And now I have to add my two partial products together in order to get the correct answer of 1,794. Let's see if I did this one correct. Woohoo! Okay, so this one is correct. So I will fix this answer on the answer key, so hopefully by the time you guys are doing this, it will show up as green. And again, I'll fix these area model answers right here as well. Either one that you write will be correct. Okay, so you guys just have the two homework slides left to do. For slide 4, I do want you guys to do the partial products. just because this one is laid out for you guys. You do not have to write the area expressions in here. If they help you, go for it. But I definitely do want you guys to do the partial products. And I will go through and add plus signs in for you guys as well. So on slide 4, make sure you guys are doing the partial products. The answer boxes are there for you guys. It tells you which box goes with which partial product. When you move on to slide 5, you just solve using whatever method works best for you. So if you want to do partial products, go for it. If you want to do area model, standard algorithm, whatever you want to do, just go for it. Just make sure that you write your final answer in those green answer boxes.